to be important to us. Well, our 41st president, George Bush, is in the Southland tonight. And this weekend, he has an incredible schedule that includes everything from a golf game with Ronald Reagan to a meeting with Arnold Schwarzenegger. This morning, though, the president ignored protesters as he told Caltech grads it's time to revamp education in the United States. Stan Wilson was with the president.
Pro-choice!
Off campus, abortion rights demonstrators struggled to be heard. Inside, it was all pomp and circumstance for hundreds of Caltech graduates. Only minutes after Governor Pete Wilson introduced the president, some of the demonstrators who had made their way into the audience tried to interrupt Mr. Bush's speech.
New world beyond.
Security guards removed the protesters without incident. Some of the Caltech grads were sympathetic, but a bit annoyed.
Well, everyone has the right to voice an opinion. When just wish they would do it before he came in or after he left, not in the middle of the speech. But freedom of speech, I think, is very basic here, and it should be expressed.
Mr. Bush ignored the protesters, and he had a joke for the Caltech students who have a reputation for elaborate practical jokes.
Some of Caltech's finest reassembled Air Force One in the lobby of my hotel. Ditch day, perhaps.
On a serious note, the president told the grads when it comes to education, government must be part of the solution, not part of the problem.
I'm not opposed to government per se. I'm not a government basher. But we in government must understand, bigger isn't better. Better is better.
President Bush repeatedly stressed that Caltech's graduates are among the nation's best and brightest. And with this as a backdrop, he stressed his themes for American education into the 21st century.
America 2000, as we call it, summons the nation to create a new generation of American schools. Schools that break the mold.
Later, President Bush was more than a little surprised when graduate Jack Prater decided to lean over and give the president a big hug to thank him for his speech.
He looked kind of shocked, and I heard from people in the audience that, his eyes were all wide when I was hugging him, but they loved it. He hugs real good for a president, but, initially he was kind of shocked.
The Secret Service watched nervously, but it turned out to be the president's only graduation hug on a day punctuated by both protest and pageantry. Hallelujah, hallelujah. In Pasadena, Stan Wilson, Channel 9 News.
Well, the president is in Southern California until Monday. Tonight, he's staying at the Four Seasons Hotel in Beverly Hills. Tomorrow night, a dinner party in Malibu. And Sunday, he speaks at the Simon Wiesenthal Center.
A breaking story just April 29th, and that's
back in Pasadena. But News 13's Brian Jenkins reports that when the president wasn't being ignored, he was being interrupted.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
The welcome was warm, and President Bush even offered some promise of job security to these science and engineering graduates.
Our administration fully supports high-performance computing and math and science education. We're also proposing a 13% increase, bringing research and development to $76 billion.
But much of the president's speech suffered from deaf ears and several distractions. First, abortion rights activists protesting Bush's support for the Supreme Court gag rule against abortion education at family planning clinics. Police and security officers promptly shut them down and led them away.
So my challenge to you...
Then there were gay rights activists shouting a call to fight government inaction in the war against AIDS and gay discrimination. They, too, were escorted away by police. At one point, fisticuffs erupted between protesters and those who didn't like what the protesters had to say. Security separated the combatants, and President Bush pressed on with his speech. Bush made it clear to these graduates that this generation would have to take more control over the problems in their communities, that government is no longer in a position to solve all of the nation's ills without more of what Bush called points of light.
We must combine the might of the free market and intelligent government with something else, the brilliance of those who make a difference in the lives of others.
But volunteerism and presidential politics seemed out of place here.
It was too political. It wasn't really aimed for us.
And I felt like it was out of place.
I wasn't paying much attention. I was listening to the other people around.
And who would tomorrow's leaders like to have heard?
president of a reputable college, or even David Letterman.
In Pasadena, Brian Jenkins, News 13.
Rather be clean.
Graduation. The grad ceremony was at Caltech in Pasadena today, the first time that a chief executive has been there in 80 years. Christina Gonzalez says protesters did their best to see that it'll be another 80 years before a president returns.
And it's a pleasure to be here at Caltech.
No sooner had President Bush begun speaking than other voices joined in, activists protesting the stop of federal funding for abortion counseling.
The time has come to lead for
Robin Schneider represents the California Abortion Rights Action League.
But I hope he understands that we mean business. We are going to act like a majority where it counts at the polls.
But here it was more a game of ignore. On one side, Bush talking about the future of research funding.
Science and space must be partners in the budget wars.
Across the field, this woman screaming about the war.
Unleash our imaginations. We will transform
The president making an occasional joke.
My trip back to Washington, I understand, will be delayed. Some of Caltech's finest reassembled Air Force One in the lobby of my hotel.
Homosexual rights activists fighting it out with people in the stands.
Harry Gray's research.
Let's not forget the chorus. And the Secret Service dealing with some of the protesters. As for the graduates, the only political statement they made today looked like this: broccoli, pinned on the gowns of some like Alan Wong.
We thought it'd be kind of cute if we pinned up a piece of broccoli as we walked across stage.
We don't know if President Bush thought the broccoli was cute. The only thing he said about the protest was, "This is mild compared to what I normally run into." President Bush will be in town until Monday, but there are no big events scheduled for tomorrow other than playing golf with former President Reagan. In Pasadena, I'm Christina Gonzalez.
Tonight at Chavez Ravine, the president took in the Dodgers-Cardinals game. He's sitting with team owner Peter O'Malley on the left. On the left, and baseball commissioner Fay Vincent on the right.
And that was not broccoli, I'll bet you anything. Even when you're dead, you could still be a victim of crime. But thieves try to rob the wrong man. We'll tell you why.
And a college student's one-man siege shuts down a state capitol, and you will not